Hey everybody, if you checked out my YouTube video posted yesterday on cleaning the walleye, today I was going to, or actually tonight I was going to give you a little demonstration on how I like to prepare it. And there's a lot of different ways, you know, everybody's got their own personal preference on how they like to cook fish, and I've sort of got mine as well. But the key thing you got to remember when you're cooking fish, I think, is whether the fish is fresh caught fish or if you buy it in a store or how old it is. And obviously the best thing that you can do, the best way that fish tastes, is if you eat it the same day you catch it and clean it without freezing it and without a big time delay. I usually don't like to wait over like a day after I catch the fish. And what I do is after I catch the fish, I'll soak it in water, maybe with a little bit of salt in it. You know, probably, you know, for a couple hours or overnight. It doesn't have to be a long time. And that'll help get a little bit of that blood out of the fish and improve the taste a little bit. But a lot of how you prepare the fish has to do with the quality of the fish. Now I've got walleye right here. These are walleye fillets, and walleye is probably one of the best eating fish that there is. You know, if I'm going to eat fish, it's usually going to be crappie or walleye. You know, there's lots of them. It's a clean meat. It's really flaky. Doesn't taste like fish at all. And when you're cooking a fish like walleye, for example, you want to take advantage of the fact of the cleanliness and the purity of the fish when it hasn't been frozen, when it's fresh caught. And what I like to do on that is after I've soaked the fish overnight, you know, I'll take the fillets out, I'll lay down, you know, some paper towel, and I've already done it here, you know, lay the fillets on the paper towel once it's been soaked, and that gets a little bit of water out of it, which helps out. And here I've taken the fillet and I've diced them up into chunks like this, ready for to cook in here. And with walleye, I don't like to put any breading on it, because to me, if you put cornmeal, if you put some type of a fish batter on the fish, it takes away from the flavor of fresh caught fish. Now, if you're dealing with fish that you bought at the store or a couple days old and it's got that fish smell on it, yeah, that's a good way to cover it up. But when you're dealing with these fresh caught walleye and crappie like this, there's no need to mess it up with any type of breading on it. What I like to do is I'll, you know, have my skillet over here on just a medium low heat, and I put like a mixture of half olive oil and half butter in it. Like I said, I like to use the olive oil because it's sort of got that nutty flavor and it's really healthy. And the butter actually gives it a little bit better flavor too, since there's no breading on it. So anyway, what we got here, I'm gonna put these in here. You know, get your heat, you know, like a medium, sort of a medium low. It's not gonna take very long with these. And I like to chunk them up. I don't like to have these, you know, big giant fillets in there. You know, they cook a lot quicker, you know, when you do that. Take a little bit of salt. You know, just sort of gives them a little bit of color. A little bit of, a little pepper, a little bit of salt, not a whole lot of salt. And I'm going to get a couple forks here to turn them over. And while you're waiting for this to cook here, you know, I like to prepare my plate, and I'll put a couple pieces of paper towels down on it, you know, just to soak up any excess moisture. Ready to go here, and just sort of wait. And like I said, one of the big keys when you're cooking fish is, you know, you don't want to overcook the fish. So you know, you want it flaky. You want to make sure there's, you know, everything's cooked in it. But fish is like, it's not really like chicken or red meat. You know, it's like it's not going to hurt it if it's not, you know, fully cooked. And you got a lot better flavor on it. But I prefer to use a non-stick pan on it just because it's a little bit easier. I've got just the metal tray here. A lot of times I'll just lift them up a little bit, you know, while they're cooking so they don't stick. And the walleye and crappie especially, it's really a translucent fish. And like I said, you can sort of see it if you look up here close here. You can sort of see it getting white a little bit. And you know, once it gets white halfway down, that's when I'm going to turn them over. But I think that's one of the big keys in, you know, cooking fish is like, you don't want to take away that natural fish, not the fish taste, but the cover it up, cover up the consistency and the texture of the fish with breading, because I think one of the worst insults to a cook is if you take a really good steak and you put steak sauce on it. And to me, it's the same way when you got a really nice fillet of fish like a walleye or crappie. If you put tartar sauce on it or too much breading, that's just sort of like an insult to the fish. So after a minute or so, I'm gonna gently flip these over one by one here. I like to use forks a little bit and control a little bit easier. These are some pretty thick fillets. This was about a 4-pound walleye, so these fillets are a little bit thicker than what I normally would catch. I prefer, a walleye in that 2-pound range is really good, and crappie like an 11 or 12 inch crappie is really nice. And on the backside here, I put a little bit more pepper on all of them on the backside. Just a little bit of salt, not a whole lot of salt, just enough to get a little bit of taste. We're gonna let those cook up for another minute or so. But I think that, to me, catching your own fish is one of the most satisfying things that you can do as an angler, because I think a lot of people, it's like I watch people a lot of time, they go into the supermarket and they go into the meat section where they're buying meat or fish or whatever, and they buy what they want, and there's such a disconnect when you buy the meat or the fish that you're going to eat. A lot of times you don't see it for what it actually is. You just see it as like a steak or just like a fillet of fish or a piece of fish, and there's a disconnect from the fact that was actually a creature at some point that had just as much right to be here on this earth as we do. And when you go out and you catch your own fish, or for the people that like to hunt, I used to hunt all the time, but I haven't hunted in 35 years. I don't really care for it anymore. But if you fish or hunt, you have that connection to what you have taken, and there's a little bit more of an intimate relationship, more of an appreciation, or there should be an appreciation, in other words, because one of the things that I really admired a lot is a lot of the way the Native Americans did when they hunted and fished. I mean, the amount of gratitude that they showed to the creatures that they took, because if it wasn't for them, they couldn't survive as well. So there was an extreme amount of honor to that. And I think that what we have in society today is most people, when they sit down and they have a hamburger or they have a steak or they have a fish sandwich or whatever, they don't see that as what it is. They just see it as like a piece of meat or just something to eat that wasn't actually living at one point. So anyway, that's what I think. So anyway, it's looking pretty nice here, as you can see. Starting to get a little bit, you can see right here, there's just a little bit of a flesh color that's not quite white, that's really close. And I'm gonna flip these over one more time. And one of the things I like to do with fish is I'll flip them over several times. It's not like a lot of times if you're cooking, some red meat or a steak like that, you just, you flip it one time and call it good. I'm gonna flip this over several times. And what I like to do also is, as the fish is getting close to getting done, which it is right now, I want to turn my heat up just a little bit, because I don't want to cook it under a high heat at first, because that's going to cook the outside too quick and not the inside. But once I've got the inside cooking real good like this, I'll turn that heat up a little bit, because that way I can get that, that nice brown, look to it. Sort of finishes off nice, and it tastes a little bit better. But as you can see here, this looks a little bit different than what a lot of people, are used to when they're cooking fish. They usually got it covered up with breading, cornmeal, that type of stuff. This is more of a fish in its natural state. It's looking really good. So, got a slumber party going on right now. You got some water, you do? Okay, so.
I got some water.
You do? You got water. You ready to eat some fish?
Here's some.
You gonna have some fishies?
I got them.
You are?
I got some water.
Okay. Okay, it's looking pretty good now. I'm gonna take it off the heat. you can see here. Let it cook out a little bit more. And you can see, like I said, this didn't take very long. This is what, I mean, would we take 2 or 3 minutes, I'm gonna guess? This is awesome. This is as fresh as you can get. I mean, next to like a shore lunch, which is really a good way to go. So here you have the final product. Walleye fillets sauteed in olive oil and butter just for 2 or 3 minutes total like that. A little hot. So good. If you've never had walleye fresh like that or crappie, you're missing out. So anyway, that's just sort of how I did it. We're gonna take some time here and enjoy this nice little walleye. And thanks for tuning in. And please, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe and share and like it. And if you have any ideas or any requests on videos you'd like to see, shoot them my way. Send them, drop a comment, and I'd be glad to make a video on it. So we'll talk to you later. Thanks.